But it's really funny. Come on, come on, come on, Nicolo, be serious for a moment. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this new video. Today we're on a test ride, as you read in the title. I don't know which test ride we'll do, and if we'll even do the test ride, because basically, today there are the open days. Yamaha. What does this mean? That official Yamaha dealers have the Yamaha range available. Not all the bikes, because otherwise I probably would have tried the R1 and the MT-10 right away. Maybe the SP. But they do have a few things available. But now what's the point? I met a guy who's a salesperson at this dealership, which is near Redi Roma. And he told me, look, on these dates there will be open days. The thing is, though, I tried calling the dealership's number and a convenient robotic voice answered telling me that the dealership was closed. So I hope they haven't changed the phone system's programming, but that they're actually open, because if I get there and find it closed after getting up at 8:30 this Saturday morning, I'd be swearing up a storm and the channel would become even less family friendly. Sometimes yellow just isn't enough, you know. Because you know I don't mince words, but trust me, if I get there and it's closed, you'll hear a series of beeps. Anyway, pretty significant ones. At this point, I'd say, since it's all straight road with just a few curves, in the center of Rome to cut and resume filming directly when we're there. Here we are, guys. They just handed us the bike. We're here with Paolo, who represents Moto, the dealership that gave me this MT-07 for a test drive. It's the 2018 model. Many of you have asked me for it, so all that's left for me to do is get on and test it for you. Here we are, finally in the saddle. I'd say it's time to open it up a bit. Remember, this was Noisy Boy's bike. Nice job, guys. What a greeting. And I wish him all the best with the new little bike that just arrived. Many of you have asked me about it. I have to be honest. So when they told me there were open days, I said, no way, I absolutely have to try it. Alright, I'd say there's only one direction to go from here. Castelli Romani, then to Castel Gandolfo. That way we'll have a couple of curves to try it out on, in a slightly more complete way. Let's start, as usual, with driving comfort. Driving comfort, guys, is really excellent. You feel well planted on the foot pegs. The seat isn't too hard and you sit in a pretty comfortable position. Slightly, guys, just slightly, a little bit forward. But nothing uncomfortable at all. Actually, this position is really a walk in the park. The handlebar has a curve that I like. It doesn't make my wrist tired. Remember, this is the 2018 model. Besides the breakfast, let's say it's the only thing that changes a bit. The tank, which comes a little less under the rider's seat. Now let's move on to the chassis. Maybe it's a bit lacking on this MT-07. In fact, it's really the chassis. The front fork as well as the rear monoshock are not adjustable. Also, they're quite soft. Obviously, this translates to comfort in the city. However, if we want to go for a slightly more spirited ride, it could be a disadvantage. The forks, as you can see, are not upside down, and they're also quite soft. The rear shock, on the other hand, is a bit better because it's stiffer. So, what I recommend, maybe regarding the front forks, is to have them serviced. And if you want, have them stiffened a bit, use some thicker oil. That way the fork will get stiffer. If you still don't like it, even with the thicker oil, remove and change the cartridge. Of course, it depends on how you want to use it. However, the chassis of this bike makes the MT-07 really feel like a toy. In fact, when riding in the city, it really manages to be very easy to handle. You can get through anywhere with very little effort. This is a great thing, not to be underestimated, especially for those choosing it as their first bike. Because at least in my personal experience, when you're new to motorcycles, you're always a bit inexperienced and with little experience. When making maneuvers on two wheels, you always risk ending up on the ground. Because of the heavy weight of the bike, with the MT-07, I'd say this can't happen to you. Now let's talk a bit about the braking system instead. The braking system, unlike the forks on this MT, I really liked a lot. Although the front master cylinder is still the axial type, the calipers managed to deliver excellent braking. The bike, as I mentioned before, is equipped with ABS, both on the front and the rear, and it has traction control. However, it can't be set to any level. Let's just say it's there as it is, and that's what you get. Same goes for the mappings. In fact, unlike its rivals in the category, you won't have the option to change them. Now let's talk about the engine, but let's start by talking about the throttle. In fact, I really like the feedback I get from the throttle when I twist it. One of the strengths of this MT-07, in fact, besides its ease of use and maneuverability, is definitely the engine. In fact, it really manages to bring smiles and emotions, even at very low revs. As soon as you ask, it gives, no matter what gear you're in. Also, the engine with the stock exhaust seems to be really very quiet, almost like an electric motorcycle, let's say. I'd say now it's time, as usual for our test rides, to go try it out in the middle of the curves, and so we can see overall how the bike is. Okay, here we go. The curves are starting. Let's see how this little beast behaves. Wow, really excellent feedback. Excellent, I would say. A little hairpin turn for us. I messed up because of the cars, but there were speed bumps anyway. Third gear in. We're merging in. Go. Left. Even on a bumpy road, it performs really, really well. I'm shifting down inside, switching direction. Excellent, 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 excellent. Wow, what a show this MT-07 is. Guys, I'd say we should push it a little harder. Downhill, let's go. In gear, go. Go, I'll throw one down for you. The bike really stays firmly planted. The rear ABS works excellently. When I go to mix the braking using both brakes, I go in, the grip is good. Hairpin turn that we have to take slowly because there are bumps. A little slide for us. A little more gas. Great, great, great. Guys, this 700 under my butt is really spectacular, I swear. But now let's stop the bike and do a quick recap. This way you can also see it a bit from the outside, because this new color scheme, I have to say, I really like it a lot. And let's talk about what I think are the only flaws this MT-07 has. Here we are. So, what are the things I didn't like about this bike? I say this because there are really very few, and the bike as a whole is really, really spectacular. The only flaws I can point out about this MT-07 are definitely the front forks, which, even when pushed hard, don't perform badly. However, obviously, maybe with a bit more intensive use, it could struggle. Another thing I definitely didn't like about the engine is that you can feel strong vibrations, especially from the engine, so right under the seat when you're riding at high speeds. The same goes for the handlebars. In fact, with this MT-07, when you get close to the top of the scale, your hands will start to vibrate quite a bit. Last but not least, this bike doesn't have an electronic shifter. I know this might not be a problem for you, but I have to say that once you try the electronic shifter, it's really hard to go back. And with that, we've pretty much said everything about this MT-07. I think I'm gonna go have a coffee now, my second of the day, and then get back in the saddle and bring it back to the Fayetta dealership. Here we are, finally back. I hope they don't kill me. 1, for the side, a slight delay of 20 minutes maybe, and 2, when the video comes out. But we won't tell them that now. So guys, that's all for this video as well. I hope the review was helpful to you. To understand the potential strengths and weaknesses of this MT-07. From Freccia Verde, that's all. See you in the next video. If you haven't, subscribe. Bye.